Hey, this is Mark Treichel with another episode of With Flying Colors. Today, I want to talk a little bit about CAMEL codes as it relates to NCUA's 2023 annual performance plan. Or, said another way, is NCUA really okay with a 1,000% increase in the number of Code 4 and Code 5 CAMEL credit unions? Well, the annual performance plan suggests that they might be, and I'm going to dissect whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think when you first hear that, you might think, wow, that's not good. And I'll explain why that still might be the case. So, NCUA issued or the board approved the annual performance plan last week at their January board meeting. And when this comes out, this is something that I had a lot to do with when I was there from a global perspective. But the staff that work on it do, in my opinion, an amazingly good job, and they have really good examination backgrounds, and they link it to the budget real well, which was what they were trying to achieve the last few years that I was there. And I always like to listen in to when they do the board presentation to see if anything catch my eye. But as a reminder, the NCUA's annual performance plan works in concert with the agency budget. It outlines the resources and strategies the NCUA will use to set priorities and improve performance. And the plan is guided by NCUA's 2022 to 2026 strategic plan, which includes the following strategic goals. Those goals are to ensure a safe and sound and viable system of cooperative credit that protects consumers. It improves the financial well-being of individuals and communities through access to affordable and equitable financial products and services, and it maximizes organizational performance to enable mission success. So I'm going to speak mostly to the safety and soundness side because that's what I like to talk about. But before I jump in and before I forget, notice I said this refers to the 2022 to 2026 strategic plan. I will make a prediction that once Chairman Todd Harper has another Democratic vote, that they will likely make a change to this strategic plan to be more consumer compliance based, would be my guess. Again, once he has that second vote, and while the strategic plan says it goes out to 2026, there's nothing to say that NCUA couldn't vote on it at any point in time. And I would watch for that, and I will predict that that will happen. All right. So one thing when I look at NCUA documents, when I'm looking for a particular topic, I love to do the word search, and the word CAMEL appears in this document 7 times. And when you go to the first citation of CAMEL, it says that they are going to be conducting timely supervision of CAMEL's composites of 3, 4s, and 5 credit unions. My clients know that I speak to them about this quite a bit, but if you are a Code 5, you're going to see NCUA probably every 3 months. If you are a Code 4, you're going to see them every 4 months. If you are a Code 3, you are going to see them every 6 months, which is why if you're a Code 3, your costs of your examination compliance can double. If you're a Code 4, it can triple. And if you're a Code 5, it can go through the roof because it seems like NCUA never leaves. The second reference to CAMEL codes is that one of the indicators is that they are going to start at least 85% of follow-up examinations for federal credit unions with assets greater than 50 million and a CAMEL's composite 3 rating within 180 days of the prior exam completion to ensure all material safety and soundness concerns are being addressed. So 180 days, that's 6 months. If you're over 50 million, you're going to see NCUA as a Code 3 every 6 months. It's interesting, and I'd have to go back and see when they tweak this language, but they're striving to start the contact within 6 months. It used to be that it had to be uploaded and done, so they've softened a little bit there over time. I can't recall exactly when that happened, but it was likely increased to the Exam Flexibility Initiative under then Chairman Rick Metzger. I'll double check that and maybe put it in the show notes. And they only have to do it on 85%. So it used to be these exam mandates used to be drilled into stone. If a regional director missed it, if an examiner missed it, it could work its way into your appraisal. It could work its way into what your raise was that year, and they really didn't want that to happen. So they built a little bit more flexibility in on that, and probably need that with the great resignation and the challenges that NCUA and others are having at being fully staffed, because if you're not fully staffed and CAMEL codes are going in the wrong direction, which by the way they are, it makes it harder and harder to comply with rules like this. It's a good rule to have in place, however. And I'm not saying they don't hit the 85%, they might be at 95%, but it's clear to me from my work in credit unions that they definitely don't always hit that 6 months, but that doesn't mean you don't have to be ready for them to come in at the 6 month mark if you're a code 3. All right, the fourth reference is that they're going to start at least 90% of the follow-up exams for federal credit unions with assets greater than 50 million that are composite 4s or 5s within 120 days. So there's that 4 month marker that I referenced. And that's again, they move the requirement from 85 to 90%. So again, it's not a mandate, but more often than not, they will start the contact within 120 days. Therefore, making it the fact that you'd have 3 exams in a year if you're a code 4 or a code 5. All right, and the next item I wanted to speak to, where is it here? All right, and on page 23 of the annual performance plan, and I verified this number, this goal has been the same for 23, 22, and 2021. And that goal is that NCUA is going to maintain 2% or less of credit union system assets in CAMEL's composites 4 and 5 rated credit unions. So 2% of assets will be in CAMEL 4s and or CAMEL 5s. Right now, the reality is that that number is actually at 20 basis points, which is where I came up with they're okay with a 10% increase. So they want to maintain it at less than 2%. It's only at 20 basis points. 20 basis points times 10 is 2%. So NCUA is saying they are comfortable with a tenfold increase in CAMEL code 4s and code 5s. Now, the actual results as shown on this chart was actually 18 basis points. I rounded to 20 basis points in the third quarter. It was at 42 basis points in 2021, and it was in 50 basis points in 2020. So those numbers are swinging in the right direction. My prediction is that in February, those numbers will be going the opposite direction. I've definitely seen it in code 3s, and I'm starting to see it a little bit in code 4s from my discussions in the industry. And it's going to be very interesting next month in February at the board meeting. They will do their insurance fund briefing, and that's where they show charts that will show where credit union code 3s and code 4s are at. And interestingly, in that regard, if you go back to the last briefing, which would have been for data as of September, and which they did at the November board meeting, you can see that every quarter in 2022, it was at about 20 basis points, that it was at 40 basis points in December 2021. And if you go back to 19, it was at 70 basis points. 2017, it was at 70 basis points. There's a rhythm here, if you can pick it up. In 15, it was at 70 basis points. At 13, it was at 130 basis points. So all the way back to December 2013, the code 4 and code 5s as a percentage of assets has always been below that 2% target that NCUA has. If you go back further on the chart, they also show, so they're showing every other year here. December 2011 was at 2.9%. So they were substantially over the current goal of 2% of assets in code 4s and code 5s, December 2011. And if you go back to December of 2009, which I wanted to do here, it shows that 5.5% of credit union assets, nearly $1 out of every $20 of assets, was in a code 4 or a code 5 credit union. And what does that mean? That at the end of the last crisis, 08 and 09, NCUA had 5.5% of assets in code 4s and code 5s, that their goal is to keep that at no more than 2%, which I believe indicates that they are comfortable that what's happening in the economy right now isn't going to be nearly as bad as what happened in '08 and '09. And I would agree with them on that. While they didn't, publicly state that, the fact that they have that goal at that number would seem to indicate that. And by the way, also code threes were at 12.9% in '09, and they were at 14.3% in 2011. And right now they're only at 2.2%, which is an amazingly low number. I can tell you again from my work in credit unions this year that 2.2% number they're reporting in September has had to have gone up in December because of all the liquidity issues, because of all the net economic value issues, because of where rates are at, and because of how NCUA is examining credit unions right now in light of the economy. So, moral of the story is I think NCUA is comfortable with CAMEL code 3, 4s, and 5s going up. I think we should expect to see those numbers going up in February. And when your CAMEL deteriorates, your cost of compliance can go through the roof. If that's something you'd like to chat with me about and my team, feel free to reach out. And this is a wrap on this quick podcast on CAMEL codes as it relates to NCUA's expectations for 2023, their goals for 2023, and I'm very curious to see what they report in February in their share insurance briefing. This is Mark Treichel signing off with flying colors.